Getting and upgrading your license in Japan. Let's do it.
Let's go alcohol.
So this week, it was my birthday and also a time where I could upgrade to my gold license, which is the top license you can have in Japan. And there's a couple of benefits to having a gold license, and I'll run you through this later. But first of all, I'll just explain how you get to this stage.
So cute.
It's my birthday tomorrow, but they put one extra year. I'm 49 actually. So they don't have a tag for 49, so they gave me one for 50. That's very cheeky.
So sweet.
Arigato gozaimasu. Blow this one out.
You want to make a wish?
I'm getting old. So most foreigners will land in Japan and they don't have anywhere to live. They might have only just got their visas, and most people will arrive with an international driver's permit, and that needs to be changed into a Japanese driver's license, and I'll explain how this happens. So your visa needs to be some sort of resident status, so it could be a student visa, could be a spouse visa, could be any type of resident that gives you sort of the right to stay in Japan, so any non-tourist visa. And you arrive with your international permit, and depending on which country you're from, it'll either be very easy or very difficult. So if you come from a country like I do, which drives on the left, Australia, it's very straightforward. So you present yourself at the licensing place, and the licensing place is not like it is in Australia or America, which is run by the Department of Transport. It's actually run by the Department of Justice. It's run by the police, so it's a totally different setup. So you approach the counter and you have your international driver's permit, and you just say that you want to get a Japanese license. So if you're from a country driving on the left, this is quite straightforward. They'll ask a lot of questions like they do in Japan, and most of them are totally irrelevant, but that doesn't matter. And the one main thing you'll get from them is in Japan, when you initially get your first license, it will have a start date on your license. So every time you renew, it will always have the start date from the day you got your license. So if you're 50 years old and you got your license when you're 16, your license will always state the day you got it when you're 16. But if you're from a country like Australia, every time you renew your license, you need to surrender your old one. So the start date of the license is the date that you renewed your license. So this is something that the Japanese have a hard time sort of understanding, that pretty much all countries don't keep the initial start date on their license. So they'll question you a lot, and how long have you had your license? It looks like you've only had your license for 2 years because that's the last time you renewed it. And you sort of have to explain that you've had a license for 30 years, but depending on who's on the counter and how much experience they got, they just don't understand this sort of thing. So you may get some incredulous looks from people, and if you've had your license only a year or whatever, they may refuse you because you don't have experience. But if you get an experienced policeman on the counter that knows what they're doing and what country you're from, they sort of get around these sort of things. So basically you will get your license, and it only involves paying the money, having an eye test, and that's pretty much it. So if you're from America, and this is another thing that's quite strange, there's 51 states I think in America, and only 6 or 7 have the reciprocal arrangement in Japan. So if you're from that state in America, they'll just swap your license over like they do with Australians, so you don't need to do a practical test or anything. But for the majority of states in America, for example, you actually have to take a practical driving exam and a road rules test and things like this. So you're basically treated as somebody who's never driven before, which is a real pain. And a lot of people, they actually find it easier just to renew their international permits if they're going home anyway. But people who are going to stay here long term, they have to go through that process. So they've got to go down to the driving instructor centre and pretend they've never driven before and go through the test and do all the parking and driving tests and whatever to get their license. So that's a real pain in the neck, isn't it? So unfortunately, if you're an American and you're from probably 47 of those states, you're going to have to do this. And I've ran into a few Americans, and one of them's the Bentons actually had to do this. So it was quite expensive for them. It cost them over $1,000, I think, to get their license, whereas it only cost me like $50 because I'm from Australia driving on the left. So it was a real headache for them, and it was a costly one as well. So assuming, depending where you're from and you have to do the test or not, you'll be given a green license. So it's basically all the licenses look the same, but it's just got a green strip across. And I'll show you my 3 licenses, the green, the blue, and now the gold one at the end of the video, so you'll be able to see exactly what they look like and how they change. But you'll be given a green license, and when you have the green license, then you can insure your car. So if you can buy a car and whatever, and you can contact whichever insurance company you want, get some insurance on your car, but you'll be paying the top rate. So even in the case of me, I've been driving for, I think, over 30 years, 32 years or something I've been driving. But when I got my green license, went to insure this car that I'm driving, I had to pay the top rate. So I was paying $500 US a year just for basic cover of just covering property damage for another car. So that is really, really expensive. And now that I'm on the gold license, I'm paying $180 a year. So it's a massive saving. So you have to drive on your green license for 2 or 3 years. Then if you have no run-ins with the police, they'll send you a notice saying that you're entitled to a blue license. So whenever you change your license colors, the police make you watch a video. So it's basically a 2-hour C-grade production movie. It's absolutely terrible, but you have to sit in the classroom, and it's set up at the DMV here, and it's exactly like a classroom like you're in high school, and you have to sit there and you have to watch the video, and at the end of the 2 hours you go down and get your license. So whenever your license changes, you have to watch the video, but when you go from blue to gold, you only have to watch half an hour. So everybody who's going for their gold license, after a half an hour, they just leave sort of a third of the way through the movie. So I'll tell you what I think the reason is for showing people the movie and wasting everybody's time. The fines in Japan for speeding and things like this are quite cheap compared to Australia. So for example, a seatbelt fine might be $80, I think. Here in Australia, it's close to $400. So the fines in Australia are really, really expensive. But when you get a fine, you don't have to watch this movie. So, for example, if I were to be caught speeding right now on the way to shops, when I need to renew my license, they'll drop my license from gold to blue, and I have to watch this 2-hour movie. So I may get a cheaper speeding fine, but the real punishment is going to this centre, watching this movie, and having half your day destroyed. So it's quite ingenious, actually. Most people would prefer just to pay a heftier fine and not have to have half their day wasted whenever they renew their license. But this is the system in Japan. If you have any indiscretion with the police, you have to watch this 2-hour movie, and it's really, really boring, and it's really, 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 really poor. So this is part of the punishment. So the process is the punishment. It's not so much the money. So what really slows me down is I don't want to have to waste half my day and watch this stupid movie again. So the fine may be only $100, but I'd probably prefer to pay more than not have half my day wasted because of it. So I think it's quite ingenious. I'm not sure the stats on speeding and whatever, if it works or not, but it definitely works for me. I haven't had any fines at all, or I've actually only been pulled over once by the police, and that was for a seatbelt for my wife. But she actually had her seatbelt on, but she was wearing a grey top, so they couldn't see the seatbelt. So the police radioed ahead and said that my passenger wasn't wearing a seatbelt. And when I pulled over, the police could see that you couldn't actually see the seatbelt because it was camouflaged on my wife's jumper. So he just waved us through and said sorry. But that's the only time I've ever been pulled over. And it doesn't mean that I haven't, done anything wrong or anything. Just haven't been caught. So people with gold licenses doesn't mean that they're perfect drivers. Probably they just haven't been caught. So. I'm generally very careful on the road, and I haven't had any run-ins with the police. But if you do, just be reminded that it's not just the fine that you have to put up with. You're going to have half your day wasted in the future, so you have to think about that as well. Another thing you have to think about too is in Australia I had a heavy license, so I used to have a semi-trailer license, so it was the big heavy license for trucks. And they don't swap it over. So even though I had the heavy license in Australia, they only gave me a car license. So just because you have a truck license or a bus license or a coach license, it's not accepted here at all, and it doesn't matter what country you're from. So you'll just be given a car license. So if I wanted to get a heavy truck license, I'd have to go through the whole process as if I've never driven a truck before. And I actually begged the guy if he could just give me a light truck license, but he wouldn't do it. He says, he'd like to, but he couldn't. So the license I had was a semi-trailer with actually a third trailer on it. So these big trucks actually don't exist in Japan. But he wouldn't even give me just a 10-ton truck license. So just keep that in mind. And also the motorcycle license is a totally separate license if you're into motorbikes. And I'm not sure if that's reciprocated here because I don't have one, but you have to look into that. As far as truck licenses go, if you have a normal car license, you can drive up to a 3-ton truck in Japan on your car license, which actually you can't do in Australia. It's only up to 1 ton. If you've got a car license, I believe. So up to 3 ton is just like a little dump truck, and you can actually drive them on the road with just your standard car license. So these are just those little trucks you see everywhere around Japan. So most people who drive these small trucks, they don't actually have a truck license because it's not needed. But anything above 4 ton and over needs a separate license. So I've posted some videos before, probably over a year ago, there's a massive shortage of truck drivers in Japan. And even if you're just doing demolition work and things like this, if you can drive even a small truck, or you're confident driving a small truck, it's a benefit. Because most people, even with a car license, they don't like driving these small trucks. But they're quite easy. And if you need to get a heavier license, you're going to have to go through the process of getting the license, and it's quite expensive. If you've driven before, you might be able to pass straight away, and it's still going to cost you $1,000. But if you fail a couple of times, it can get very expensive. One thing about the Japanese police, especially the traffic police, they're not as actively hunting speeders and things like this in Japan, especially compared to Australia. It's sort of it's becoming a bit of a revenue raising game in Australia. There's cameras everywhere, there's police everywhere, and it seems to be a bit of a jackpot happening all the time. And the Japanese police actually, when they're driving around, they have their lights on all the time. It's just a different mentality when it comes to policing. The Japanese police have a sort of a mentality that they want to stop speeding before it happens, whereas the Australian police and probably many other police, they want to catch people speeding. So it's a different mentality. So they want to get on top of the problem before it happens, whereas other police forces, they want to catch people and raise revenue as well. So that's one saving grace in Japan is most of the time you know where the police are because they want to be seen, and they have their lights out and everybody can see where they are, and it actually helps you avoid speeding. Gets people looking at their speedometers a bit more. So I think that's a good thing, depending on what you think is the best way of policing, but I find this works. The speed limits are quite low in Japan, so it is quite easy to speed as well, so it's probably a good balance there. So here are the three different colour licenses. So as you see in Japan, you don't surrender your license, they just put a hole in the license and you keep it, but your original date when your license was granted will always appear on your new license all the time. Whereas that's totally different in Australia. You must hand your license over and they destroy it. They don't give it back to you. Well, at least they didn't when I was there. And the new start date on the license that they give you when you renew is actually the date that you pay the money. So it doesn't get the starter license doesn't get backdated from when you first pass your test. Another thing to keep in mind too is Japan sort of works April to April. So they graduate March, April, and there's a big rush before April for all the young people to get their licenses. So in March and April, it's probably the most dangerous time to drive because there's just all the newbies out on the road. So this is actually the time now. So people graduate school, they go to university, or they go into a job from high school, and they need their licenses. So there's a massive rush down at the licensing place, and everybody gets their licenses sort of in March and April, and the streets are just packed with these newbie drivers. So it's actually quite a dangerous time to be on the road, and it's just before Golden Week as well, so it's all pretty bad timing, but that's how it works here in Japan. And another thing about Golden Week, which is this sort of April, May sort of time, is you've got all the newbies out on the road, and you've also got what the Japanese call paper drivers. So paper drivers are what we used to call Sunday drivers in Australia. So they're just people who pretty much have no idea, and they might just take their car out occasionally. And these paper drivers in Japan, they might not drive for months on end, but they'll pull the car out the garage and go for a drive on Golden Week. And this is why you have such a mess in Golden Week. Everybody driving around Japan, you've got all the newbies, and you've got all the paper drivers around. So it's absolutely horrible time to drive around Japan if you're just getting used to the place as a foreigner. So keep that in mind. It might skew your sort of reality here of how good the Japanese drivers are, because you're going to have a lot more of these people out on the road. So anyway, I'm almost here at the shop. I've got to get some stuff for the cafe. We've got a few bookings this Golden Week time, so I thought I'd better get a few more things. But anyway, that's pretty much the process of getting your license and upgrading. And if you're a foreigner from a country like myself, Australia, UK, left-sided drivers, pretty straightforward. But for Americans, I feel for you, because you're going to be treated like you've never driven before, and it's not going to be cheap either. So unfortunately, that's how it is. But you can also find out the states that are reciprocal in Japan, where they swap it over quickly, and possibly get your license in those states, and it might make it easier before you come over to Japan. So that's just an idea. But anyway, I better go in, and as always, hope you like the video. So here's the gold, green and blue. So you start off on green, go to blue, and then gold. So it's just a strip on the license.